The Revenant is based on the life of famed explorer Hugh Glass. This movie seeks to recount his historic encounter with a grizzly bear, which went on to viciously maul him in a manner so terrible that even reading about it made many cringe in their boots. His legendary narrative is still recognized as not just one of the most extraordinary testimonials of unbreakable human ability, but also as one of the most incredible stories ever recorded. Are you adventurous? Do you like treks? Well, maybe you should consider this possibility the next time you go trekking. Before we get into this terrible event, I kindly ask you to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you become a member of the Fierce Zone family. Thank you in advance. Hugh Glass, 1783 to 1833, was an American who became extremely famous because he was attacked by a bear, and he traveled thousands of miles in that state to reach home. Mountain folk roamed the West long before the days of gunslinging cowboys. The daring souls lived a legendary existence in search of beaver pelts and other furs. One such genuine folk hero was none other than Hugh Glass, the famed explorer. His enigmatic origins have long been a mystery. For example, we know he was born in the year 1783 near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. However, determining when and where is tricky. Glass, who was born into poverty, attempted to make a living by trading furs with American Indian tribes in South Dakota and Wyoming. He soon landed a position with the Rocky Mountain Fur Company, where he rapidly became an adept woodsman. In addition to his many accomplishments, he was regarded as one of the first white men to traverse many of the places he explored. Glass was also a skilled sailor, range hunter, and fur trapper. He planned to relocate to Missouri at the age of 25 and go on multiple expeditions in the area, gaining an astonishing amount of information about survival from his travels. To add to his credentials, Glass also developed a reputation among the native tribes in Missouri for being a powerful warrior and fearless bear hunter. During his tenure there, a few years later, he immediately became recognized as one of the most daring explorers of the period, frequently wandering off on solitary journeys beyond West America's various borders to go where few dared to go. During one of these journeys, Glass would come across a grizzly bear and survive to tell the tale. Expedition Commander Andrew Henry and his remaining 15 men were well up by the Grand River Valley by late August or early September 1823. Glass, working as a hired hunter, was some distance from the party, looking for wildlife along the brushy river bottom when he came upon a grizzly bear with 2 cubs. Before he has a chance to respond, the bear comes at Glass and savagely mauls him, digging her fangs and claws deep into his back, legs, buttocks, and chest, all in an attempt to eliminate what she perceives as a threat to her children. Hearing Glass's calls for aid, other crew members raced to the scene and killed the bear without hesitation. Suffering horrific injuries, including multiple fractured bones, Glass survives with ripped skin and gashes all over his chest, arms, and face. Despite the fact that expedition leader Henry and the majority of the senior trappers were confident he wouldn't make it, with dangerous Indians from the Arikara tribe nearby, the men decide against camping and instead put Glass on a litter and journey for 2 days through the dense woods with 2 groups of men going at various speeds. Henry was in a difficult predicament because he knew that if he kept this company moving swiftly, Glass would not receive the respectful burial that he deserved. But if the crew stayed with them to bury him, they risked being captured by the hostile Arikara tribe. Before we continue with this unbelievable event, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Thank you in advance. Anyone who stays behind with Glass during Henry's final days will receive an $80 bonus. Henry's offer of a monetary prize persuaded 2 daring individuals to accompany him in the unknown. One was experienced woodsman John Fitzgerald, who had years of exploration and survival abilities under his belt, and the other was James Bridger, a 19-year-old first-time expeditioner. It's worth noting that neither of these individuals is mentioned as a volunteer in the original account of this occurrence, written by James Hall and published in 1825. However, 3 previous renditions of Glass's narrative identify the older guy as John Fitzgerald, and even after 5 days without food or adequate medical care, Hugh was still clearly breathing and moving his eyes. Despite this, Fitzgerald is concerned that the Arikara Indians will detect them and that continuing to watch over Glass will be costly, so Fitzgerald takes matters into his own hands and makes an executive move. Because of his veteran background, I agreed with Fitzgerald Bridger right away that he should quickly assist him in settling Glass's pallet near a running spring so that no evidence of their presence is left behind before abandoning him for dead. The guys would also deprive the person in Glass of his rifle, knife, tomahawk, and fire-making supplies, believing that a dead man had no need for such weapons. Glass eventually wakes up and realizes that his companions have abandoned him. Not only was he unable to move, but with no survival supplies and the severity of his injuries, he believed that he had little hope of surviving. As the emotions of his crew's treachery ignite his arm muscles, Glass musters the last of his energy and begins the slow, painful crawl back towards civilization, determined to survive. As far as he can recall, he found himself alone in the South Dakota wilderness, 200 miles from his objective at Fort Kiowa, with only the clothing on his back and no guns or supplies in sight. Come mid-October, which is about 6 weeks after he and his crew set out on the voyage, it's also worth mentioning that if Glass's expedition had started even a month later, the hard winter weather would have dramatically lowered his prospects, especially given his huge injuries. When he returns to civilization, he takes advantage of being a member of the Rocky Mountain Company and thus acquires much-needed supplies and equipment, including a rifle and gunpowder, on credit from a local trading post. After replenishing his inventory, he sets off once more on his quest for revenge against the men who betrayed him. Glass ultimately comes across Bridger near the mouth of the Bighorn River after yet another long journey. When confronted with Glass, the 19-year-old bursts into tears and goes on to express how regretful he was for what he had done, emphasizing that Fitzgerald was the one who first made the call and that he felt obligated to follow his example given his veteran position. Glass, believing his apologies to be sincere, forgives Bridger and sets out to discover the guy he now believes to be the true criminal. After yet another exhaustive search, Glass arrives at Fort Atkinson in what is now Nebraska and locates Fitzgerald. Just when he was about to take justice into his own hands, Glass's intentions to wreak revenge would be thwarted by a U.S. Army captain who interposed in a timely manner, but it would surely be a fight to the death. The captain made it clear to Glass that killing a U.S. soldier would result in death. Although Glass was ultimately dissatisfied with the verdict, he would accept $300 as compensation for his incredible sufferings before disappearing into history, never to be seen or heard from again. Fitzgerald, there is another version of this story. According to some, Fitzgerald had joined the army and was therefore safe from Glass's revenge. Other versions, however, suggest that Glass tracked Fitzgerald down and forgave him. Glass finally went back to trapping. During a confrontation with Native Americans in the mid-1820s, he was repeatedly shot in the back with an arrowhead. He was on an expedition at Fort Cass, Montana in 1833, when he was embroiled in another conflict with Indians. Glass, on the other hand, was slain on that occasion. His reputation lives on in various articles and books, as well as films like The Revenant 2015, with Leonardo DiCaprio as Hugh Glass. Let us know in the comments what you think about having an outdoor adventure after watching this video. And since you stuck with me till the end, I'd like to thank you for watching this video. And if you haven't already, I'd like to ask you to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one.